You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with a special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Okay. Well, listen, we're here. We are here. We're at the part where everything goes wild. In my years of covering Philadelphia politics, I thought I knew what the wildest week would be. The summer of 2026 might go on record as the most ratchet, wild, chaotic summer or time period I think I've ever covered Philadelphia politics. Look, last summer was a lot, right? But this is crazy. Like, normally people are relaxing, vacationing, staying out of trouble. That is clearly not the case for the Parker administration. And before we begin, I want to tell you all about some news. I have accepted a new appointment as in a new role. It's a brand new role for the city of Philadelphia, and I'm proud to announce that I am officially the chief articulator of the problem for the city of Philadelphia. This is a new role. You know, the city of Philadelphia keeps rolling out new roles, for whatever reason, we just keep making new positions like, cleaner, greener departments and things. So this new role gives me the ability to complain. And it's a great role. And I want to be very clear what the title is, the job description, because I made this announcement. A lot of you all were super excited, because this announcement, this position, this came about on Tuesday night after Mayor Cherelle Parker, the mayor of Philadelphia, had a very, busy day, I would say. Very busy, not productive, busy. She had a very busy day. She made some major personnel reshufflings, and I was trying to figure out why so much was happening so soon, but we've arrived. We arrived. And I think we need to talk about that. So before I get into my new job role, I want to, let you all know more about it. So here it is. I want to make sure you all can be able to, hear this role and understand the details. So I want you all to hear what happened Tuesday night. I was at this event that was for an organization I care a lot about. The event was at the Pyramid Club. It was a Tuesday night. I was sitting, there. There was a panel. It was supposed to be opportunities for youth and all of these great things. The mayor, she came, on CPT, Cherelle Parker time. I don't know what the time y'all thought I was talking about, but she came a little late and she was supposed to do opening remarks, but she did. And at the end of her speech, that really went on for a long period of time, but she wanted to address a certain demographic of people. And, she called them chief articulators of the problem. And this is what she said at full length. And so let's talk about it before we get into some other things that make this correlation. Here you go.
I as mayor keep them far, far away from me because they take my spinach vibe away. It's like kryptonite to me when I'm surrounded by people who complain, but they are not contributing in a tangible way with recommendations about solutions. I'm solutions oriented and I want to be your part. Okay?
So, yes, I was right there in the crowd, open space, looking directly at the mayor. And, of course, she saw me in the room. I was now around people. We were all in the space. It was a small, intimate gathering in this reception room. And, she threw her shots. And she's been throwing a lot of shots lately. And I get it. I kept trying to figure out, why is there so much defensiveness? What's going on? Why is there just seemed to be a heightened level of defensiveness. And, there was shots thrown. I listened to this interview that she did with Trinae Nuri from CityCast Live, CityCast Philly. And it was a great interview. Trinae Nuri is a great Black journalist who does some incredible work. She's been covering the Parker administration at length. I'm happy she finally got an interview because many Black journalists, including myself, her, Dr. James Peterson at WRD Radio, a lot of Black journalists are not really getting access to the mayor to do those interviews. And so anytime one person from this group gets a chance, it's always a win. Shout out to her. She's a proud member of PABJ, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, which I'm a proud president of. And we were happy to see the interview. I listened to the whole interview. And in the interview, she was throwing those shots. She talked about these chief articulators of the problem, CAOPs, I guess that's what they are called. But she also kind of made this other jab about the internet and about implying that, people get on the internet and they get paid to talk about her, to talk about certain things on the internet. And it was really weird. And she was like, did you know about that? And she was trying to insinuate that certain folks that are on the internet, quote unquote, on social media specifically, they get paid to talk about her or to do those things. Well, I want to just state for the record that I'm not getting paid by anybody outside of news organizations to cover this administration. I'm not getting paid by any political campaigns. I'm not getting paid by any focus groups, think tanks, any of these. I don't get paid by anybody outside of news organizations to cover the Parker administration. It's called journalism. So, and journalists are not just in newspapers and on radio stations. We are multimedia. We are on social media. So I don't know what you were trying to imply. I don't know if you were, you seem to be a little pressed, and that's fine. I get it. But let's also just be accurate because, there's a lawsuit naming one of the people in your administration that's in your communications office that's now being sued for defamation. So we need to be very mindful about, put a name on it, but be clear because obviously I am someone who has been very clear on my coverage. I am a investigative journalist. I'm an investigative adversarial journalist of this administration, given that I don't get the opportunity or the access to interview the mayor. I do have access to press conferences where I can ask a question, but I don't get the full level of access that my white reporter peers, my majority white peers in the industry get. I want to be clear that as of the recording of this podcast, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, which several months ago had requested a press policy for all journalists, not just Black journalists, but for all journalists in the city of Philadelphia, one that clearly is being used by other major cities in America, the Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, New York City, other major cities have a very accessible, visible press policy that allows for journalists at all different levels to be able to have access to critical information and to be able to apply for a press badge if needed. We don't have that currently in the city of Philadelphia. And for many years, long before Mayor Cherelle Parker was mayor, I had not had one. And after, using my platforms, social media, to raise an issue on this, I finally was granted a press badge. But it was very clear that I should not have to be the only one as a prominent Black political journalist in the city, that other Black journalists should also be granted that access. And so as of right now, we had that meeting in December. The Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists' leadership team had a meeting with the Parker administration, not with Cherelle Parker, but her chief of staff, Tiffany Thurman, her deputy mayor, Vanessa Garrett Harley, her comms director, Joe Grace. Two of them are now named in a lawsuit, which we're going to talk more about that. They were in the meeting, in the room, and I was there and expressed these thoughts and concerns. And the fact that we had that conversation in December, we're about to enter August, and we have yet to have a viable press policy is just very disappointing. I've been told by individuals in that press office that, because I don't, I guess, play along or get along with the mayor, whatever that means, that I was making it difficult on myself to be able to get a press policy. And I made it very clear that whatever relationship or personal thoughts that the mayor have about me should not relinquish this administration from doing their job to ensure that they respect the Sunshine Act, because we have a Sunshine Act in Pennsylvania that grants the free press access, and the fact that there are these restrictions and barriers in place, that's a concern. But I hope the new city solicitor, who I hear is incredible, she's probably one of the smartest hires in the Parker administration. I hope that this new city solicitor, who clearly has a lot on her plate already, that she, looks into this matter and handles it. Because from what I've heard, there's already a press policy that is just collecting dust right now. That there were people in the comms office and others in legal that had been looking at the policy, and what needed to happen was that there needed to be a level of response. So we'll see. We'll see. But, the new city solicitor, Monique Galloway, who I hear has a stellar track record. She has been a national attorney. She's worked for some high level judges. Welcome to Philadelphia, to the city of Philadelphia, not Philadelphia. I mean, I know she's been around, but welcome to the city of Philadelphia government. And, I know you've probably heard of me. And if you're listening to this podcast, welcome. I don't know if you subscribe already, but by all means, I know you have a lot on your plate, but if you're listening, because I know that members of the Park administration like to surveil my shit, and that's fine. But if you are listening, we need that press policy. And if you don't know who to ask Tiffany Thurman, and ask Joe Grace, and ask the deputy communications director, my former friend, who, has drinking, the Kool-Aid over there. Maybe you can ask them where that press policy is if they decide to release it. But they, I've asked, and I've been given excuses and delay, and it seems like I'm not the only person getting delay in that administration. So bless your heart. But that being said, I'm taking on this role as the chief articulator of the problem for the city of Philadelphia. I wear it with a badge of honor. For those who don't know, my job hasn't changed. It doesn't have a new title. My job is, I've always been and currently is, an investigative journalist, an adversarial journalist. And so I guess the mayor wanted to give me a new fancy title, and she calls it Chief Articulator of the Problem. So it's synonymous. My role isn't really changing. It's just my title's changing. I don't have a budget. Because I don't really hear that many offices do have a budget. Allegedly, Shania Bennett, who was the former director of the Office of Youth Engagement, she didn't have a budget either. She's coming out of her pocket. So I'll come out of my pocket and I'll work on my relationships and networks. Fall internships. If you want to be a fellow, listen, let me be very clear on the opportunities, because I want to be very clear. If you want to support the efforts of the office of the chief articulator of the problem, you can get in my DMs on social media at Mr. Ernest Owens, and you can DM me anonymous tips, receipts, and information. You do not have to be disclosed. This is a whistleblower hotline. So if you work for the city of Philadelphia, you work in the park administration, and you have information that you would like to share to my office, let me be very clear, the chief articulator of the problem is willing to help assist you. I don't have a deputy just yet. If you're interested in being a deputy, please let me know. I don't have a budget, so I cannot pay you. The city of Philadelphia is not paying me to articulate its problems. I do get some assistance and some funding. I could, probably we can do lunch at the Pyramid Club. We can do drinks on me, but I don't have a budget from the city. The city doesn't have a budget. Now, let me be very clear. I might take paid leave off. So if I disappear, I'm learning from the best. Listen, other people have had paid time leave off for extended periods of time and have taken PTO, and I'm just learning from some of the best. Adam Thiel, who was the former I guess the outgoing, I guess I should say outgoing managing director, he clearly can make a salary and not be at the office at all times. So by all means, I'm just learning from the best. That was reported, so I'm just learning from the best, So, if I don't show up to an office, you all know. But I have multiple offices in the city of Philadelphia. I have an office that actually outlooks the city hall. We don't work inside City Hall, but I do have access to City Hall. And as the chief articulator of the problem, if you have any tips and information that you would like to give, please contact me in the DMs. I don't have a functional office in City Hall, but I have my own independent office. And the office of the chief articulator of the problem, we're here to serve the public. And I want to be very clear about that. So if you want to be an intern, if you want to be a part of my team, we have a very robust team of subject matter experts and subject problem experts. They are very clear in their research. But if you would like to contribute to the problem, if you would like to contribute, please give us your information. And you can also email me. My email address is ernest@large@gmail.com. Ernest@large@gmail.com. It's ERNESTATLARGE@gmail.com. Okay? So there's no spaces, no periods. And I want to be very clear that I'm proud to announce this. In this exciting new position, I will be allegedly taking the mayor's spinach vibe. I've never heard of spinach vibe. I didn't know the mayor is it Mayor Parker or Mayor Popeye. I don't know. But apparently I am taking the mayor's spinach vibe away like kryptonite because she's also Superwoman. Complain because, complaining. And I'm also going to be very clear. I am unwilling to do the taxpayer-funded jobs of legislators, staffers, and consultants who should already be contributing in a tangible way with recommendations and solutions. So I am not doing anybody else's job that my taxpayer dollars should be doing. So, I can sometimes offer them voluntarily, but I am not instructed to. So I want to be very clear about that. Now, at a time when the Park administration currently doesn't have an accessible press policy to ensure that all journalists, especially Black journalists, have equal opportunity and access to cover them, it's my job to make the public aware of these problems and more. So I wear my new position and an appointment with a badge of honor. And I want to be very clear legally, because I know that the new city solicitor, she don't play that. I want to be very clear that this is a parody, not to actually give off the impression that I actually work for the city of Philadelphia. I do not. No one in my family, no one in my immediate family currently do, and that this is a parody, because I know legal language matters, and I do have a lawyer, and I do have a team, and I just want to be very clear that that is a parody, just in case people want to assume it's a parody. However, let me be very clear. If you do got tips, you can get in them DMs, and that email address do actually work, okay? So tip away. But I want to be very clear, it's a parody. So I don't actually work for the city of Philadelphia, just in case people did not know that I was being sarcastic and I was being humorous, and that this is actually satire. That is satire. What the mayor said was fact. She did say that in my presence on Tuesday night at the Pyramid Club. So let's want to be very clear about that. Like, what the facts are, what the parodies are. Because just in case, because it's a lot going on. So before I transition into some of this burning news that's been going on, I want to just say that I don't know what people think this is, but I don't know why they play with young Black gay men. I don't know. Like, one thing, anybody who don't tell you about a butch queen, one thing I'll tell you is that if you ever think that you're going to out humor, out mock, out joke a Black young gay man who is confident and smart, I don't know who told you to do that, but I don't know. Maybe it's some of those white subject matter experts. I don't know who told you that was a good idea. But one thing you don't ever do is try to make a joke of a young Black gay man, and don't think that we're not going to make anybody in the LGBT community, but like Black queer people, whether they're trans, whether they're queer, whether they're lesbian, whatever, don't play with us when it comes to trying to joke on us, because we will be the biggest joke. I always tell people, you try to make me a joke, I'll be a comedian. You try to make a clown out of me, baby, I will do a circus. I will do a circus, because this is nothing to play with. What's going on right now is nothing to play with. I don't like a bully. And I'll tell you this, as somebody who's grown up my entire life having to fight for what I deserve, one thing you don't do is you don't ever play with a black queer young person. Like, just don't, because we know how to bid, as the Philly kids say. We know how to bid. Like, you are never going to play with us. I will never forget many, many years ago, somebody was teasing me for being gay. And it was just like, okay. And they started making certain jokes, and I started clapping back. And it was a little, it went a little lowbrow, but I was like, listen, you're never going to make me feel ashamed of who I am. You're never going to degrade who I was born to be and who I am. You'll never make me feel less than. You'll never make me be ashamed of who I am and what I do. I will never be ashamed of being a journalist. I will never be ashamed of speaking truth to power. I will never be ashamed of letting people be aware of the issues in this city to be empowered. And you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can mock it as much as you want, but I will wear that with all pride. I've been called a sissy, and I say I was the sassiest. They say you're zesty. I say ain't no zestier than a lemon lime zest Sprite, baby. Whatever you want to call me, I'm the zestiest, I'm the sassiest, I'm the proudest, I'm the gayest, I'm the most fabulous. You can call me whatever you want to call me. So if you want to call me the Chief Articulator problem, thank goodness you knew that you called me chief on it, because you could have called me an articulator problem. You called me the chief. So baby, I'm the chief. At least you know I'm the lead. Every title I have has chief on it. CEO. It's Mr. President. Okay? Commander-in-Chief. So we can all play. We can all play. And I'm going to say, I will never back down from anybody who got something to say when it comes to this work. The mayor likes to say she's unapologetic. I am unapologetic when it comes to clapping back against ageism, veiled homophobia, anti-blackness, and all other things. I will stand up against any bully, whether they are in the mayor's office, whether they're in the governor's office, whether they're in the White House, whether they're in the hen house. I don't care. We not playing it over here. So any journalist who's afraid to speak truth to power, any journalist who's afraid to stand up against an administration that is suppressing free speech, stand up. Stand up. Because right now, what we're dealing with in this administration, I'm not talking about the Parker administration alone, but what I'm talking about is we're having a government that thinks it's okay to belittle people who are doing the right thing and stand on business. People don't have to agree with my style, but you're never going to question my intention and my consciousness. My conscience is clear because my consistency is key. I will repeat that. My conscience is clear because my consistency has been key. I've kept that same energy with every administration, and I'll be damned if anyone in any position will lie on that. I'm unapologetic about that. There's a lot of people that do the reels and play around and do the bidding of people. But this is not child's play. This is serious. This is serious. These are issues that are impacting people's lives. We're dealing with an administration that needs to be held accountable, and it's time for us to stop doing the bidding based on weaponizing identity politics. You want to talk about identity politics? Why is it okay for a government administration to belittle young black men? Why is it okay for an administration to be allegedly making a toxic work environment for young black women? Why is it okay for an administration to tell people allegedly that DEI they don't want to work on DEI? Do those black women voices matter? Do black young men's voices matter? We say Black Lives Matter. Do the lives in Chester matter? Or is it only those who ring you on a kiss? Or only do black elites in political power matter? I didn't know. Do only labor bosses' voices matter? Is it only elected officials and black politicians that we must protect? I thought we were supposed to protect women and children and families and innocent people and civilians. I thought this is about Philadelphians. I thought this is about communities and marginalized groups and helping the helpless and the hopeless. I thought that's what we were supposed to be doing. I didn't know that we only supposed to be protecting political power. I thought we were supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfort. I thought that's what we were supposed to do. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. Some of y'all done forgot the plot. Some of y'all have gotten so caught up in representational politics that you forgot why we wanted the representation. To not be in this shit that we're in right now. But I guess I digress. So some things have happened, and I was summoned by members of my the office of the Chief Articulator Problem, my leadership team. I have a small cabinet. I was summoned to do a special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking because so much has happened in the last 48 hours that I think it is time for us to debrief. We're going to talk more, this weekend before I head off to the vineyard. And then I'm going to have some leadership focused group meetings with some other national members of the office of the Chief Articulator of the Problem. I like this title. Can y'all give me a business card? Can somebody make me a t-shirt? I'll wear a size large. Can y'all make me a t-shirt and some swag? Can I get some swag? Can y'all what I would like, members? Can somebody make me a, those office things, the little tables, like when you do the office work and there's like a title at your desk and there's like the little placemat. Like I've never really worked in a corporate space before, but I would love for someone to if somebody can make me a official Chief Articulator of the Problem desk title label, that'd be gratefully perfect. Like, don't do nothing over the most, but just I would like one so I could just put at my desk in my office so that when people walk in, they can see the job title. And bonus points to get my name. If anybody know where to get those made or make me one or something, I will gratefully accept it. I definitely will, because we're gonna wear this with a badge of honor, and we gotta laugh our way through some of this, y'all. This shit is heavy. It really is. Like, I'm grateful for a supportive family, an encouraging mom, a great husband, really great real friends that we have to laugh from this shit to keep from crying, because the shit is very sad. It is a hot mess. In the words of Tyra Banks, we rooted for you. But hey, we gotta do our jobs at the end of the day. So we're gonna just, in many ways, through all of this, there's got to be some humor. We have to laugh and have joy in the midst of this dump of political chaos. Okay, we got to do that. We have to, because if we don't, we lose ourselves. And so there is the politics of joy. Joy is important. And so I did some things before I did this. I got my nails done. I went grocery shopping. Not at Target, clearly. And then one of my members of my cabinet hit me up and said that I need to give you all a special edition. So let's get to it. So there's been a lot of changes that have happened in the Parker administration the last 48 hours. And if you're like, what is going on? WTF? I get it, y'all. I don't know how to keep up. It's just so much. Every time I turn around, there's something going on, okay? So there were 3 major hiring changes in the administration that did not include, my parity position. The major job that took place is that there is a lot of changes. The L&I director, there's a new L&I director in the city, and that person, well, first of all, let me back up a little bit because we got to get to the main position. Adam Teal is now leaving the position as the managing director. He hasn't, his deadline of transition is still not clear. I think 4 to 6 weeks is what the Parker administration has said on record. But he is going to be replaced by Carlton Williams, who has served in various roles. He was L&I. He served in Illinois as Illinois commissioner. He served for not sanitation, I don't believe, but he is over the clean green work. Lots of things. His title, this is a new position, and it's a lot going on right now. But he is replaced that position. He's going to now be in the new role. We're seeing a lot. So Carlton Williams was the director of the Office of Clean and Green. That's a new position that the mayor created, and he's the director, but now he's replacing Adam Till as the new managing director. So that is the change, right? Now, I had covered this already. I broke this news about 2 weeks ago, and pretty much I had already heard rumblings, several rumblings, and I wasn't, I didn't feel fully confident to share that Carlton Williams was in talks. I had heard that, but I said that's a little bit too, I need a little bit more proof of that. But I did get major confirmation that Adam Till's days were numbered and that he was going to be leaving and exiting position. To be clear, I don't think there was a firing. From what I hear, I think there was just a natural understanding that, this might be time. And things have gotten real, right? I mean, he's been really persona non grata. He's been pretty much absent from a lot of major things. When you look at the deputy, I knew there was a major red flag when the microburst took place. Some people will call it like a tornado, but we call it a microburst because this was, what it's called, right? But meteorologists, but some people say like a little mini tornado, but they call it microburst. We're going to call it microburst. So the microburst, when that happened, the next day when press conference took place, all of the messaging was coming from the deputy managing director. It was not coming from Teal. And I thought that was weird. I was getting these press releases and I was like, why is the deputy managing director talking? Why is the managing director not here right now? Is he in Virginia? Where is he? But that became a red flag to me. And he just has not been present for a lot of major things happening. And you would think that someone with a title, a job, a salary, he's getting paid $316,000 a year. He's the number 2 of the city. He gets paid more than the mayor does, by the way. The mayor gets around $200-something thousand a year. Over 250,000 for sure. I think maybe 265, 270, something like that. She gets paid, a decent salary. She gets about roughly $250,000. He gets over $333,000, nearly $333,000. So their salaries there's a gap. There's a noble gap. For that position, that title, that's serious bread. That's a serious position. For him to not be present as much. I mean, for starters, let's be very clear, because I want to lay out the details. Because I think it matters. For somebody to have a title like that and not do their job, almost half of his salary was for paid time off in 2025. He's got multiple jobs. He's got professor jobs. I think he's been an author. He has made more than $300,000 in 2024 in consulting alone. The man got a bunch of jobs. And so I don't know how to, I think it was time. So here we are, and this is what's going on. So yeah, I think it was time. And Carlton Williams, for all intents and purposes, Carlton has been showing up. That before all this stuff with Chester, I thought that Carlton Williams had been one of the better employees in the park administration. I felt like the one thing the park administration, up until the Chester situation, I thought that the Cleaner Greener initiative may have been one of the stronger things that the park administration did, in my opinion. I felt like that was a strong suit. There's a lot of other issues in the office that clearly isn't as great. But I always have said that I felt like the Office of Clean and Green was probably one of the better things that the administration had did up until Chester. Now, some people will disagree, and that's fine. But, I would arguably say that, because people say I never say anything positive about the Parker administration. That's not true. I have. I just think when you have a bunch of things happening that are not so good, it's really hard to keep pushing the same talking points, But up until the Chester situation, Reworld, I always felt like that office was one of the better initiatives and better concepts from the Park administration, just in that. And so Carlton getting the position, I don't know. I don't know if that was, I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on in office. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would like to talk to him and interview him if you come on the show. He's probably not. But look, I don't know. I think this a lot of people don't seem to be impressed with this position. I don't know. Maybe we should have had a national search. But I think this administration is really tight right now. They don't really want to bring outsiders in. Because, if anybody who was not working for the city of Philadelphia came into this administration and took on these roles, and it would be, I don't know. I think that they would probably wouldn't last that long because I don't know if they would really vibe. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But it is a major change. And to be honest, I am happy that T.O. can now focus on other things more pressing than, being the managing director of the city. Clearly, his other jobs, he's not going to be without getting some revenue. That man is probably a millionaire. I don't see how he's not a millionaire with all the money he's making, but he's good. He seems to be fine. I think he'll be okay. And it seemed like at the press conference, there was no problems. Everybody seemed to be chilling. So that's that. I heard all kind of other things being said, but that's that. Now, the other person who is taking on a role, who has left, the city's top lawyer, the city solicitor, this was the one that gave me the most, was Renee Garcia. She has left her job as city solicitor to work for the private sector. She's been doing a lot of work. I mean, as city solicitor, she's done a lot. She's dealt with a lot of stuff regarding, Trump, with the stuff going on with the slavery exhibits at the president's house. She's done a lot of different things. There's been concerns about, there was critique around how she dealt with the ICE stuff. A lot, okay? I would just say a lot has taken place. And she's now going to the private sector. She's going to probably get big bank. She was not at the press conference because she went on vacation. So it's interesting the timing of all this. She went straight on a vacation. She was like, deuces. I'm not against that. I get your vacation on. We're going to talk about why that is that decision, that exit and all that. We're going to get to that. But because timeline matters. This press conference I'm referring to happened on Tuesday. Remember Tuesday. Remember why that date matters. Just putting it on perspective. So she's out. And now we're going to have Monique Galloway, who is an assistant U.S. attorney. She is based in Philadelphia. She's a part of Jack and Jill. Her kids got christened at Mother Bethel. She had a beautiful story. Lovely woman. She seems pleasant. I have no critique. I haven't heard anything bad about her. Everyone I know in the legal community is very excited about her getting a position. I'm excited. I just hope that, I don't know. Like, we'll see. But I do want to speak on this situation, though. There is an appointment of Ralph DiPietro, who is now a deputy commissioner in the Philadelphia Department of License and Inspections, L&I. DiPietro is going to replace Basil Miranda as commissioner. This is important to note. There's some drama with this. There is some drama with this, with the building trades. They don't like this decision. They do not like that Ralph DiPietro is in his position. And this is what I will tell you all. Apparently, the building trades are extremely disappointed with the Parker administration's decision to abruptly terminate L&I Commissioner for Inspection, Safety, and Compliance, Basil Miranda, in June. Now, I've heard on background that that departure involves some personnel matters. It wasn't anything connected to the CHOP garage. So there was that controversial collapse earlier this year at a CHOP garage being constructed at Grace Ferry. That is not the reason why. It's not connected to that, okay? There are some internal matters related to his office. And I would be very clear to say personnel problems. There's some personnel issues. There were some personnel issues. That's what I was told by people close in that office, that there were some personnel issues. I don't know if the word is salacious, but there was something personnel, allegedly some issues, personnel going on in that office. Now, see, I'm not going to disclose all the full details. It's not my place. But I will tell you right now, anyone listening to this podcast that's connected to that office or in the Parker administration knows clearly that I know and I'm aware of the personnel issues that was alleged in that office. So all I got to say is that has been addressed. There's now a new person. Now, building trades not like the decision for that individual to be let go. They're not a fan of Ralph DiPietro getting in that position. Top leaders within the building trades have been very clear that they're not in favor of this. They still support the Parker administration. They don't like the Parker administration has made this hire. So Ralph DiPietro is getting this position, and it should be very clear that the building trades are not in favor of him getting this position. So, just reporting the news. So apparently there's a leadership breakdown that's happening. The mayor has split L&I into two divisions. So Bridget Collins Greenwald, she is the commissioner for quality of life. She's going to be managing nuisance businesses, code enforcement, and local regulations. Now, the breakdown on the other end, inspections, safety, and compliance division, is currently under a leadership transition, and that's going to involve DiPietro. He's going to be the one overseeing the permits, building construction, and demolition oversight. That's why the building trades may not be in favor of DiPietro. Maybe that's not their pick. I wonder if co-mayor, and this is a joke, I call the co-mayor Philadelphia. If there was ever a pop quiz and they said, who does Ernest call the co-mayor of Philadelphia? The answer is Ryan Boyer, who is the business manager. Now, he likes to be very clear. He does not like to call himself the co-manager, but I have jokingly called him the co-manager. I wonder if he had, a solution or recommendation to the Park administration in lieu of Ralph DiPietro. I don't know if he did or didn't, but clearly in this situation, our co-mayor couldn't give a recommendation. They chose another recommendation. So what I hear, he's not in favor of this, from what I've heard. Sources can, others can back me up, but I don't think that co-mayor Boyer is having a different perspective than that. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. So moving along. Just when I thought that these three major changes were going to be enough and that we could make it through the weekend and I'll do my shows and over the weekend and report and do that, I thought, okay, being called Chief Articulator of the problem was going to be that, and then we'll get to Thursday and we'll move on, right? Just when I thought that was going to be it, the universe said, hold your Cosmo. Okay, hold your Cosmo, Ernest. We got something. And I want to be very clear that I had gotten a tip. Actually, a tip in my DMs. Not my DMs, my page, actually. My page. And, I want to be very clear that this tip came to me directly from the source. Any of you all who've been following, my page and following my stuff, I want to be very clear about something. Last Friday, when I broke this news about Shania Bennett, I shared the information that happened with Shania Bennett. An individual, you might be familiar with her. Her name is Brandy Blocker Anderson. She got in my comments and said, somebody call Netflix because I'm ready for my interview. Just got my right to sue letter from the EEOC. Now, if you don't know what the EEOC is, okay, the EEOC is nothing to play with. The EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, okay? That was broken. That news was broken, right? She shared that in the comments on Friday. She said, just got my right to sue letter from the EEOC, civil complaint coming on Monday. That is what she shared, okay, on my comments. That was breaking news. She said the civil complaint coming on Monday. Brandy Blocker Anderson said that. Okay? And I think people thought she was playing. I think people thought, y'all thought this was a game. News get broken in the comment section of my platforms. This is not just trolls. This is not trolls. These are not trolls. These are regular people. Folks that give news. My page is clearly surveilled by government officials and politicians. And so when people try to talk shit about my journalism, baby, the news be newsing. Okay? She said this on Friday. We anybody who follows my coverage, you ain't got to wait for the Inquirer. The Inquirer was how many days late? 5 days late? Oh, well, they waited for the case to be filed. But let's be very clear. On Friday, let's be clear. Brandy Blocker Anderson has said, somebody call Netflix because I'm ready for my interview. Please enter, Miss Anderson, please enter the office of the Chief Articulator of the problem. Can you please enter my office? Please step inside my office, please. Close the door. Because she had said that she's ready for her interview. She said, just got my right to sue letter from the EEOC, civil complaint coming Monday. She told us. Were you paying attention? Did y'all see that she already said this? Y'all thought she was bluffing. Well, clearly she was not. So the Inquirer shared this news, okay? They shared the news. They can't even keep up. Bless their hearts. They came through. I've actually got a chance to look at the case as well, okay? I've taken some time to see the case. It's public information, okay? Public information. But the Inquirer in their reporting, they made it very clear. And they even added information that I had provided about Shania Bennett too. Like those, because she didn't took those, okay. Just to be clear. Just citing the fact that they got it from my page. They're never going to cite that, but it's okay. I just wish they could just, in the industry, you're supposed to be friendly with your citations, but they've been doing this for a while at this point. You're welcome. I'm happy I'm keeping other journalists employed. I wish they had a DEI plan. It's funny how they're writing about DEI and they don't really have it. Anyway, that's the cop. Anyway, so the former Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer has, for a while, she has made this public and we've covered this on Ernestly Speaking for quite some time, but she's been very clear that she felt scapegoated after she reported the incident that happened with, Tyrell, who had the position, Tyrell Brown, who was a former Office LGBT Affairs Director, that she felt like she was scapegoated for that and that her firing was unjust. She's spoken on this and said that she was thrown under the bus when all that went down. And, she stood on that. Well, she has filed a lawsuit, in federal court in Philadelphia. And it did happen on Monday. It was filed Monday. And she basically said that her firing was coordinated, to suppress, in parentheses, I want to emphasize that, to suppress and rebrand the diversity work, and accused the administration of all types of crimes. So the U.S. Circuit Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, this is where it was filed, and it was filed on Monday. She is seeking damages and payment of lost wages as a result of her firing. She is suing Mayor Cherelle Parker, Deputy Mayor Vanessa Garrett Harley, Inspector General Alexander DeSantis, and Communications Director Joe Grace. Now, y'all remember, I told y'all about Joe Grace. I told you about how Joe Grace be cutting up. In my opinion, that's my opinion. But I told y'all about the ways in which the Parker administration be cutting up. Now, I don't even have to put an allegedly, because I can tell you about the things that was done to me. And I can name them. And I told y'all with a lawsuit, everything comes out in discovery. Because I will name names. Anybody who will try to play me and call me a liar, oh, baby, I will pull out receipts. But I don't got to do that because ain't nobody trying to call me a liar on it. They just want to be quiet and move on. But I want to tell you some of the things that she has said because this lawsuit is serious, She said that pretty much there's a lot of allegations. The city has declined to comment on lawsuit. And when there's ever pending litigation, they don't normally speak on those issues. So to be clear, they're not commenting on anything, And they're not answering any questions about it. And they don't, but to be fair, they don't ever, in any lawsuits, they typically don't speak on pending legal issues. But this is going on. This is going on. This is what's happening. So there's a lot that's happening in this lawsuit. There's a lot that's being said. And she's claiming that the mayor, according to a lawsuit, that in 2025 said that she did not care about Miss Anderson's DEI ideology, only minority businesses. She also has said that the mayor had threatened to remove, allegedly, that the mayor threatened to fire any member of her administration, any official who expressed disagreements and dissenting views. She had told a gathering of senior officials, quote, that no one has a right to have an opinion about where we are going. Okay. I thought this was a democracy, but I digress. These are allegations. This lawsuit is extreme. A lot is going on. She's accused Mayor Parker of not allowing her to contact members of city council. So we know there's beef. Like she was not allowed to, allegedly. These are all allegations, to be very clear. She has claimed that, that Cherelle Parker, the mayor, did not allow her to have contact members of city council that she had existing relationships with. She's also accused Vanessa Garrett Harley, one of the members of the Big Three, now the Big Two, um, alleged that she told her and other DI leaders to quote unquote stand down if they expressed dissenting views, saying, quote, if you can't align with the mayor's strategy, DEI may not be the job for you. That's a choice. That's a choice. And that's a choice. This tell-all lawsuit, bombshell lawsuit, yeah, it's not good. It there's a lot about allegations of basically transphobia, discriminatory comments that it was alleged was said by Deputy Mayor Vanessa Garrett Harley. I mean, for example, you know, it's alleged that she said she instructed Anderson to, quote, document Selena out. Like, document her out. Like, what? That, okay. Made mentions, apparently mocked her during a meeting, apparently said she had a, quote, deep male tone to intimidate staff. Allegedly, she said this. And to be clear, Selena Morrison left that post in November 2024. She lasted only 8 months at the park administration, or she didn't last that long in the park administration. And she dealt with a lot of trauma. She was pulled over by a Pennsylvania state police trooper. Everybody saw that traffic stop video went viral. Her and her husband was arrested. It's a lot. It's a lot. There was allegations, about working in a hostile work environment. Apparently, Brandy Anderson allegedly, this is what was said, that she disclosed to Vanessa Garrett Harley, that she was a victim of sexual abuse. She needed to take some time off. And allegedly, according to lawsuit, Ms. Garrett Harley responded by questioning how one woman could rape another. It was also mentioned that Vanessa Garrett Harley had told her to delete emails documenting the abuse of children in the city's care. That's DHS, I'm imagining. The lawsuit did not elaborate on what was in those emails that she was instructed to delete. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, the second part of this lawsuit, the other two people who are named, DeSantis and Joe Grace, right? This is the lawsuit from them that's impacting them is related to some of the stuff around press fallout and what came of that. And I think that's where there's been drama. And that's why this is the part where, there's been some controversy. Her lawsuit claims there was racial discrimination. And she claims that the fact that Tyrell was, Tyrell Brown was fired and she was fired and they were both black. Why didn't Daley, which I want to be very clear who Daly is because I want to make sure this makes sense. Christopher Daly was the deputy chief of staff in the mayor's office. He was a deputy chief of staff. He worked under Tiffany Thurman. Remember when I first talked about this and I said that I never understood that in this fiasco. So for those who don't know what happened, and this is where the drama stemmed from because I want to make sure I take some time. Tyrell Brown did not, he did not necessarily claim that he experienced, harassment. Tyrell never, he never mentioned out loud or said that he felt harassed by the photo. And let me be very clear what happened with this photo. So Christopher Daly, he is a white gay man. He's married. He was the deputy chief of staff in the mayor's office, working under Tiffany Thurman. He has sent a sexual image on a cruising app, okay? The app, I believe, is called Sniffies is the app I heard was used, was Sniffies. Was not Grindr. You straights were wrong. The straights had it wrong. The gays, no. It was called Sniffies. And so, I mean, clearly, I didn't even, when I was single, which was 12 years ago, baby, I didn't know nothing about it. I don't even think Sniffies existed. And I was never on Grindr because I like black. Anyway, but I've heard about these apps. I never heard of Sniffies. So I had to get put on game. I'm an OG and I didn't even know about Sniffies. I've heard of Grindr. What's the other ones? Jacked, Adam for Adam. Is BGC Live still available? Is that still open, y'all? Do all my single ladies, all my single gays? Is that still open? But there used to be the apps, and apparently there's one called Sniffies. Now, that's not been reported in the stories, but that's what my close sources told me was Sniffies. But anywho, this is why diversity in media matters. You need to know these things. These are the details that matter. But this cruising app is what they call it. It was a sexual image explained. And from what I heard from close sources about the image itself, there wasn't news of genitalia, like penis or anything like that. It was like a little bit of, I think, ass and shirtless. But there wasn't anything grotesque, apparently, allegedly, according to, close sources to the matter. But anyway, at the time, Anderson had said that Brown told her that they didn't feel harassed by the photo, partly because they were not clear whether or not Christopher Daly knew who they were or knew whom he had sent the image to. Because Daly's face was on it, okay? So, some people say no face, no trace. But Christopher Daly's face was in the image, all right? And part of the drama is that Tyrell Brown was anonymous. So some of y'all listen, these apps, baby, let me educate you straights real quick. This is not what Tinder is. These cruising apps for gay folks are a little different. You don't have to show your face. You can unlock photos. You can be in geolocation. It's almost like a mystery man. It's like Pollyanna, but for sex. You don't have to. You can be a surprise mystery. You can just describe who you are, and then hopefully you don't get catfished. You don't have to necessarily share things. So Christopher Daly sent these photos to somebody and did not necessarily know who they look like. Now, sir, why are you sending photos to strangers? And the thing about it is a geolocation, okay, is where you know where the person is at. Now, was this done during work hours? Why are you on the apps during work hours? Stay off them apps during work hours. But apparently the app uses geolocation, which is basically you will know if somebody 0.1 miles away, 0 miles away, if they're in proximity to you. So, they, because Tyrell didn't share his face, there would have been no way for, he doesn't necessarily know. Tyrell didn't want to say that it could be assumed that Chris knew it was them. Okay? Because their profile's anonymous. But the app did use geolocation, meaning that users, may have known that they were contacting somebody in or near City Hall. So clearly they were trying to, make linked up. I don't know where they was going to go. Well, in the private city hall bathrooms, I don't know. I don't get me speculating. I don't know. Listen, I used to be at city council. And I'll give you a fun fact. I was at city council in early 2013. And I was a communications fellow for city council. And let me tell you, I was single and I was on the apps, not them type of apps. I wasn't on, there was no sniffies. But I would just say to you, anybody who's gay and single in City Hall will know that it's a lot of people that be on the DL, and I'm not judging, do what you do, but watch my shoes, that will be on those apps. So you don't know who in there. You don't know who could be. It could be no, I'm not going to do that. But all I will say is that a lot of people on them apps that be in that proximity could be on the second floor, the third floor. You don't know where the trade is at. And if you don't know what trade is, go ask somebody else. It's not my job to educate you. But the trade be on the apps. And they be on those apps and they be, in proximity. So you don't know who is going to find out who. But when I was a single John, and I was, the apps was listen. And see, I wasn't cruising. Let me be very clear. This sniffies thing is another thing, baby. But let me just say that was what was going on. And I guess, 12 something years later, it's still going on. Clearly they out here. But anyway, I just was wanting to provide some context there. So moving along. So basically, Anderson was doing her job. She elevated this report to the Human Resource HR when she found out there was a complaint leading to the city's inspector, DeSantis, who's also being sued right now in this lawsuit, because I want to be very clear that Alexander DeSantis is the inspector general. He did the investigation at the time, all right? So did the investigation. By July 22nd of 2025, Brandy was fired. DeSantis, said Anderson never possessed the photo, but allowed Tyrell Brown to display it while another employee besides Brandy, the supervisor, was in the room. That decision, DeSantis said, constituted a violation of the city's sexual harassment policy. That's what the rationale was given. Tyrell Brown was fired the same week as Anderson. Parker basically tasked Vanessa Garrett Harley with dealing with this, according to Inquirer in the lawsuit, handling with the office's work. And there was a replacement name, Tito Valdez is the replacement. Now here is the mess. Now this is the mess, okay? And this is what part of some of the drama is. Anderson's lawsuit claims racial discrimination because she argues that Christopher Daly, who was white, was never fired and was moved to a new role in a different office, while both Tyrell Brown and Brandy Anderson, are both black. Just putting that out there. Now, with the rest of this lawsuit, Anderson claims that Cherelle Parker, Anthony DeSantis, and Joe Grace allegedly each made false and defamatory statements in the press after she was fired. Okay? She cited that the July 2025 Inquirer article in which Joe Grace, said that Brandy Anderson's allegations about the reason for her termination included outright misstatements of fact, quote. Now, see, I tell people, don't you be out here lying in the press. That's libel. You can't be out here lying in the press. He said they were outright misstatements of fact. Now, Joe Grace, if you knew that wasn't true, why would you say that? You could have just said no comment. Now, Joe, we did not do it, Joe. We did not do it this time. Now, if anybody get that reference, that's a Kamala Harris reference. We did it, Joe. We did it. That's what I was referencing to, just to be clear. Now, also in the lawsuit, there's a reference again on iHeartRadio's WDAS 105.3 FM. Okay? There's a lot going on in that interview. There was a lot being said in the press. And now them receipts then came out. Receipts matter. You can't just be out here in the press saying whatever. So apparently in this interview, DeSantis participated in about the firings, basically said that Anderson, had mishandled the photograph and did something wrong. And apparently she's claiming that that was also defamatory. This lawsuit said that those statements were false. Listen, you can't be out here defaming people, allegedly. You got to have receipts. You got to be able to make strong arguments. You better be able to name names or leave it on the playground. So there's a lot going on. A lot going on. We're going to keep our eye on this situation. A lot's been said. A lot has happened. And I want people to know that in these situations, this is why it's important to have an office of the chief articulator of the problem. Because this is a problem and I need to articulate it. Now, I hope that the courts do their job. I hope that everybody, that justice is served. I hope that, everybody gets their day in court. These are all allegations on both sides. I have my own opinion about who I believe in the situation. They say believe black women. I don't know. I guess it's only certain black women supposed to believe. I guess. I don't know. Listen, I will just say, identity politics aside, everybody can't be lying. Everybody can't be lying. It was Shania Bennett last week. This week is Brandy Block. Everybody can't be lying. That's all I'm going to say on it. Everybody can't be lying. Where there is smoke, there is fire. My grandma used to say that. Where there is smoke, there is fire. And the chickens have come home to roost. And I think the saxophones are getting louder. And now I'm going to talk my shit before we wrap up this episode. See, let me tell y'all something about karma. Let me tell y'all something about playing with listen, no weapon for, listen. I told y'all last week on my podcast, and I'm going to repeat it again on this episode. What I share on my platform is about 10% of what I know. And that's only what's fit to print. 90% of what I actually know, I don't share. And if I did, it will set it off. It would really set it off. But I am not available to sell it because, number one, lawsuits are important and lawsuits do happen. And if I'm told not to say something on record, if I'm told off the record is off the record. So I respect the code. Let me be very clear. I respect the code. If off the record is off the record, I can't even tell you what conversation, when, who did what. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that I know more than what I share. And I'm not privileged to say the information. And so much about the role that I play as the chief articulator of the problem is that I have an omnipresence in City Hall. Okay? My sources run deep. You wouldn't know who. You wouldn't guess who. You would never, and it's multiple people. And if y'all think it's my ex-friend, that's the deputy communication director, he never was one of them. And I know they was giving him hell. They used to say, they thought he was the leak. He was never the leak. He never was. He never told me anything. He's so loyal to this administration, he burnt our friendship away so he could be loyal to this administration. He was that loyal. He drinks that Kool-Aid, y'all. Never told me a damn thing, never leaked anything to me or for it. He bleeds that administration. Okay? So maybe when y'all let go of Joe Grace, if y'all do, y'all prop his ass up. Tell him he can take that 20 pieces of silver. And whatever he do, must do it quickly. And if y'all don't know what that reference is, I suggest y'all turn the chapter to, let me stop. But he got to do what he got to do. And I got to do what I got to do. And, in life, you're going to have a Judas. Multiple. And you just got to learn how to move on and navigate that. But I digress. Bless his heart. I don't wish any ill will on him. I just know that he is on the wrong side of history, and history will prove me right like it often do. And I always say to people in these administrations when they working under dictators, and I'm not talking about the Parker administration, the dictatorship. I'm just saying in general, anybody who works in any type of fascist regime or dictatorship, and I'm not comparing the Parker administration to a dictatorship or a fascist regime. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that anyone who would work in an administration that is a fascist administration or dictatorship regime, there is no honesty amongst thieves. What they do to other people, they will do to you eventually. I've learned the hard way. And I am here to encourage others who might be working the Parker administration, who might be tired. I want to quote a infamous rapper in the 90s. If you're tired of people dancing in your music videos, come to death row. Listen, if you are tired of status quo politics and issues, you have an ally in the office of the chief articulator of the problem. The office of the chief articulator of the problem is here to hear from you. If you work at the city of Philadelphia and you want an ally on your side, please share your problems so I can help articulate them. Please share your tips. Please come to my DMs. We take it as an anonymous hotline. If you want to whistleblow, please come to my office. Because sometimes I know some of y'all told me you don't even trust your HR managers. I understand. Please come to my office. The door is open to you. For you. We're going to use this opportunity. Please come to my office. Step inside my chambers. Please come inside. Okay? We do take tips. You must provide receipts. Okay? You must provide documentation. We must have receipts, audio, video, but we will take them. And listen, let me be very clear. Those who work in my office, okay, in my administration, we will not out you. We will, unless you want to be named on record. But if there is some important information that you have, by all means, you could be at any part of the administration. You could be a part of any part of the city. Please share that information. We will gladly take any tips, information. Sometimes, we got a backlog. We got a lot of information coming in, but we will look at the information. We'll get back to you. Okay? So please share all information. Your secret is safe with the office of the chief articulator of the problem. Send your problems to me. We will vet them. I will direct them to people that can help resolve them and solve them. And if we can't necessarily resolve them in-house, or I can't find a person you can talk to, we will amplify and let people know if it hits the criteria. We have a criteria. We have subject matter experts who also aid in evaluating the issues and the problems, and we try to offer solutions and recommendations as we see fit. And some of them is amplifying and letting people know what those issues are to help give resources to you, because sometimes you have to amplify what the problem is to make sure that people can see it clearly and help and assist. So this office is for you. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. But as the world turns in Philadelphia, I will be monitoring this situation and carrying and looking into these cases very closely. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.